Hey, thanks for tuning in again today. If you're in the United States, happy Memorial Day weekend. I've got to throw out a little bit of a pre-warning on this video. It's another Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure most people know that reference. There's a long, sordid history of videos about Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab pressings, some good, a lot bad. And unfortunately today I've got one that kind of falls in the latter camp. So I was supposed to be doing some grocery shopping for the household yesterday morning, and I decided to make a detour in my route to the grocery store or stores. That's another pet peeve. My wife and I have kind of picky palates, let's put it that way. And sometimes we have to go to multiple grocery stores here in northern Colorado to get the exact items we're looking for. Thankfully, we don't make a habit of going to the store 4 or 5 times a week. We try to do it in one fell swoop. And this week it just happened to be my turn. Anyway, I made a beeline into Driver 8 Records, one of my favorite shops here in northern Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado to be exact. And Charles, the owner, always has interesting stuff available on a Saturday used drop. That's kind of his main day. He'll do a little flip video on Instagram, and he had a sealed copy of Rock and Soul Part 1, Daryl Hall, John Oates, kind of it was a greatest hits package. There is the song track list, the track list right there. This was a gatefold. This is actually available again. This was a numbered copy. But I just noticed that as they've done another drop of this or a repressing. Who knows what it's limited to. This is copy 4,890. And it was sealed, and it was less than the current list price, MSRP, on MoFi's website. So, I decided to take a flyer. I didn't have a lot of time, and it kind of piqued my interest. And for curiosity's sake, I picked it up. Now, when we talk about Daryl Hall and John Oates, a lot of people key in on what I'm going to call that classic trifecta of hits before they morphed into a real top 40 hit machine in the 1980s. I am talking about She's Gone, Sara Smile, and let's throw in Rich Girl. Those are, I think, by and far the most popular, the kind of move the needle songs for Daryl Hall and John Oates fans. And probably my favorite of those three is Sara Smile. And you'll see that it's actually credited on the back cover as the lead track. It's not. It's actually the second track on side one after Say It Isn't So. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Say It Isn't So was a brand new, they dropped this as an extra track that they put on the greatest hits package. A lot of bands did that back in the day. It's not a bad song. I enjoy all periods of Hall and Oates. So, I put this on, and what I decided to do is do a quick comparison. The easy thing to do, I thought, would be, let's put on, first of all, the MoFi, very nice, very well presented. Super detailed, lots of clarity, lots of separation. On She's Gone, there's that kind of synthesizer drop phrase. sounded really, really amazing on my setup. But I wanted to hear this as well. So this was the original, and this is mastered by Robert Ludwig. I'll tell you right now that Sara's Smile on the RL cut, I think it beats the MoFi. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. This is probably one of the better known, when people point to Robert Ludwig cuts, a lot of people will cite Rock and Soul. And this was an original pressing. There's that custom RCA label. And the copy that I have actually has the original poster, which was like a kind of an interesting 12-month calendar. That's in here as well. I don't see this record a ton with the poster, and it's recommended. But I want to key back in on Sara's Smile, and what I decided to do after hearing the MoFi, and then after hearing an incrementally better version, I thought, I don't know, just a little more presence, a little more push, maybe not as detailed and maybe not as much clarity as in the MoFi, which kind of seems to be their house sound these days. What I decided to do was to go back to the original pressing that Sara Smile was released on. This is this cool kind of metallic cover. There is the track list. The inner sleeve is it was just a one-page lyric sheet, and then for some weird reason these guys, I think John Oates is basically nude here. Daryl Hall is looking very, very glam in the background. Kind of an oddball situation, and kind of an oddball cover as well. These guys are like heavily made up, very, very glammy for 1975. There's that custom label. This is a Hollywood pressing. This was on RCA, and the pressing that I have is mastered lacquer cut by Alan Zentz. So there's a capital A and a small Z in the dead wax. I'll show a picture of this. Oh my God. This is a rare case where this pressing, the original, beats the RL. So remember, the RL was done years later down the road, maybe 12. I think that original Rock and Soul came out in, was it 87? Maybe 86? So 12 years down the road. In this case, the original master tapes were likely very fresh. I have one of the earlier pressings out there on the Hollywood pressing plant, which was in Los Angeles, of course. I've done a video on that Hollywood plant. Man, there are a lot of good pressings that came out of that plant. Think about some stuff from Creedence Clearwater Revival, Hall & Oates, other stuff that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But I thought this was interesting. So 3 different pressings. I wanted to hear the song. I did a volume level match on everything. The original pressing from 1975 was cut the hottest. It had more slam, more punch, more presence, more air. And if you remember that really cool guitar intro from Christopher Bond, who also co-produced that record, the original Daryl Hall and John Oates. What do we want to call this? The silver or the platinum copy or album? Boy, this thing sounds so good, and I haven't heard it in years. And it was all due to kind of going down a rabbit hole picking up the MoFi on a bargain price. Thank you, Charles. And, just kind of, I don't know, I've done this a few times now, and I am just kind of left with a sterile feeling listening to the MoFi and kind of thinking, is there anything more here, and wanting to go back in time. Now, in this case, it's interesting because we have the RL cut. But, no shade on Robert Ludwig. Remember, this came 10 or 12 years down the road after the original pressings were done, after the original master tape was available and there. No doubt, I'm sure he probably had, maybe he had safety copies or second copies to work from, but this is an improvement on the currently available MoFi. But if you really want to hear Sara Smile and every other song in that album to fantastic effect, go pick up an original pressing for all of about probably 12 or 15 bucks. When it comes to MoFi, I don't want to slag them off. What they've done with the Miles Davis catalog is really breathtaking. There are other examples, kind of one-offs, that I really do love. And then what they've done with the Dylan catalog is simply breathtaking as well. This is one of my favorite records. This is New Morning. This is a really fantastic pressing. As is Oh Mercy, just an incredible record. And this was a digital recording, and it works well with what they've done with it. No complaints here at all. Fantastic pressing. But to my ears, listening to my system, my analysis, I'm thinking, if you don't have that RL cut, this is just fine. It's a nice presentation. It's an audiophile presentation. And a lot of these cuts were recorded digitally back in the 1980s. But those analog cuts, I think they shine through the best on those original released pressings. So that's just me. I wanted to talk about, first of all, She's Gone. I wanted to talk about Rich Girl. And then finally, one of my favorite songs of anybody, Sara Smile. I think the best possible version you can find today is that original 1975 pressing. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back soon with something different. This was just something that kind of popped up and took advantage of a deal. I'm probably going to let this MoFi go on Discogs or somewhere else, but it was a fun experiment. Take care.